Okay, welcome everybody to Wall Street Reporter's next Super Stock, a live stream February 1st, 2022. And we are back with our baby unicorn stock, our next potential to 100x winning stock, which is NuRan Wireless. Francis Letourneau, the CEO. Francis, welcome.
How are you, Jack? It's been a while,
Excellent.
6 months. So we were due to an update, my friend.
Yes, yeah. I think you debuted on the baby unicorn in live stream where we kind of introduced those upside stocks back, I think, in the summer. And now since then, you've actually had some major developments, some very, very important material news. And really, right now, the company is at that inflection point where we could see a 10x upside. So so the format for today is this. Like today is really we're gonna do you're gonna do like the formal presentation. You'll run through the slides, and I'm gonna come back. We'll open up for audience questions and everything. And I'll tell you, I'm very excited about the NuRan story because here is a company which is doing something very unique. It's operating in the mobile communications in Africa, right? Which is really the last big market opportunity. Like there's very few pure plays on Africa right now, and mobile communications is essential really for everything. This is the place where they need it. And with the contracts that you have in place, you potentially, from what I understand, you could do 250 million plus revenues when they're fully deployed in the next 3 years. So
I'll go through all of this in the presentation, Jack.
Yeah. So I'm not going to give it all away. I just want to give people a little tease.
Don't give hints on the presentation.
There's really a path for $20 stock. Because it's not like you have to find the market. You have to find. It's basically all there. You just got to put up the towers and this. So with that said, friends, here's what I'm going to do. I'm gonna let you tell the story. Let me get your slides up on the screen. I'm gonna come back in a few minutes and we'll open up for some questions. Okay.
Good.
Here we go. Let's take it away.
Perfecto. We're up now. Thank you very much, Jack, for having me today, providing me the opportunity to present the company. I would say once again, but the last 6 months have been game-changing for us, especially in terms of getting new contracts in place, getting financing in place. So we are now ticking all boxes in order to move on, to deploy, to get revenue. So we have crossed the bridge now, and we're just aiming towards the revenue stream and getting to the type valuation we should be valued at. So thank you very much for this opportunity. Let me start by, of course, the motto of NuRan is bridging the digital divide one connection at the time. I'm French native speaker, so sometimes it's I've got a hard time dropping some of those complicated words, but no worries, I'll get this done rapidly. So yes, thank you for having me on this next super stock thing. Of course, on my council, since we're talking about forward-looking stuff, they are extremely big on the forward-looking statement, so they want me to put that all in order to protect every single thought, sentences, or something like this in a prospective mode. But bottom line, even if I'm putting this together, it's no longer a forward-looking statement. We're right into it. We are executing. Everything goes well. But let me bring you back a bit in time, because one thing that people intend or do not know about the company is that we're not newcomers. The company has been there since 1983, where it got founded as an engineering design company. And since the beginning, with the expertise that we had in Quebec City, Canada, we were pleased to work with the blue chip customer like BMW, Texas Instruments, Xilinx, working on multiple really complex design. And we've been developing products for others for, I would say, at least 30 years. Back in 2011, this is when we started to do this shift from an engineering company to move towards a software-defined radio playground, to the software-defined radio playground, developing products. We started with our first ODM contract. ODM stands for Original Design Manufacturer contract, and it was to deliver 2G indoor base station. That base station has been sold to Vodafone India, and there was something like 4,000 of those base stations that were used for indoor coverage back in 2011. In 2015, we did the complete shift to be an official product-oriented company. We then put together the NuRan naming, and we became public at that time, traded on the CSE under the ticker NuRan, NUR, sorry. As rapidly as 4 months after, we were standing at MWC in Barcelona. And by the way, we're just about to go to Barcelona in the next couple of weeks. And Facebook came to our booth and they said, hey guys, we've heard that you're probably one of the best one out there to build products that will be suited for what we would like to achieve, which is to bring connectivity around the world. So they were starting a new program called the Telecom Infra Project. We were one of the few players that were there at the beginning. And we've been working alongside with Facebook to develop a couple of products to meet the market demand of connecting the unconnected. As you know, there's 1 billion people without any connectivity in that world, and 4 billion, close to 4 billion without internet connectivity. So this is what NuRan is all about today. So we also decided to introduce our own product line at the same time, at the same show in 2016, which is our radio access network, the RAN, which is from the data center up to the radio that sits in on the site, on the telecom site, the tower. So we have the complete carrier grade solution starting 2016. Starting then, we have worked with Facebook and the new introduced product to go and run pilots with multiple of the tier 1 operator across Africa, namely the MTN, Airtel, Vodafone. And we also did some pilot testing with Facebook in the Philippines for a company called Globe Telecom. So of course, in the US, we are used to the Verizon, to the AT&T, in Canada, Bell, TELUS, but over there, it's the MTN, Orange, Airtel, Vodafone, and more to come. And those guys are really big players. They are in the top 10, top 15 mobile network operator across the world. And they are suffering dramatically from rural connectivity. And this is where NuRan Playground is all about. So some of the historic data point that we have been able to accomplish since we started this product journey. We've sold over 5,000 base stations that have been deployed worldwide, so in 15 different countries. US, we were doing roadside coverage in Vermont, actually, with a company in Boston. We also did coverage with another company out of BC and in Yukon and Northwest Territory. So we've been doing a lot of connectivity, Mexico, Asia Pacific, and everything. And our product has been used for various type of application. Of course, the mobile coverage that we will be talking about, mobile in building coverage, roadside coverage, poacher awareness. So that was really funny. There was a company that came to us that wanted to prevent poachers from killing cats in Asia Pacific. Cats meaning tigers and jaguars and things like this. And our product has been used for this. Same for the rainforest protection and everything. So the product can be used for multiple purpose. But we decided to, since the product was not sold in volume, and we wanted to really meet the demand of connecting the unconnected. I happened to be at AfricaCom in 2019 and meet with the CTIO of Orange at this time. And the meeting that was supposed to last 10 minutes finally lasts an hour 15 minutes. And everything changed when I said, Hervé, what if we finance? And everything swapped, everything changed. He said, that's exactly what we need. Your technology is perfectly suited for our needs, but our CapEx spending is going straight into urban areas, and also upgrades on the 3G, the 4G, the 5G, and over-the-top type application like mobile money and everything. So, Francis, you're bang on. This is exactly what we need. So we've implemented, I've worked with Hervé and his team, Hervé Souquet from Orange, and his team for a couple of weeks. The week after, I was in Paris, and this is how we got this new network as a service implemented, and we did a fantastic shift at that time. Following this, of course, everything started to happen. So we've implemented a new business model. Basically, we are using our own technology to deploy infrastructure in rural Africa, but other countries and continent to come, because there's a massive demand in Africa. There's something like 300 million plus inhabitants that need connectivity in sub-Saharan Africa only. So we think that our objective will be met only there, but we will expand to Latin America and Asia Pacific. I'll discuss that a little bit later. Network as a service is, everybody have heard about software as a service. So it's like a monthly payment or a monthly retainer for a service that you do provide to your end user. My end user is, of course, Orange in that case, and we also signed contract with MTN. I'll discuss that in the next few slides. But the network as a service is, we finance, we build the infrastructure, tower, power, everything, and we manage it for a 10-year period. We've put together an adaptive model, which means that we have multiple site categories that matches multiple coverage radius and multiple, of course, population per village. All of this in a managed service mode. So Orange is only reporting revenue. We manage everything from A to Z, from site selection down to complete operation and repair, curative and preventive maintenance and everything. NuRan becomes a one-stop shop for the mobile network operator. Doing this, the MNOs preserves their capital for their priority investment. And the cool thing is that we can create value for us, for the users, as well as for our shareholders. So we allow the MNOs to expand their network, meet their coverage obligation and capacity requirement without any capital invested. We manage it through 10 years plus contract. So it paves the way for setting up the pace for multiple contracts. And of course, the contract starts when the sites are installed, and they last for 10 years. It's a pay-as-you-grow service. Adaptive, we have multiple business model. Could be a fixed OPEX, so a fixed fee monthly, or it could be up to the revenue share. So every single user, which is me, for example, this using my telephone, every single dollar spent is being split by both parties. So this is how we have built the model. In the case of Orange and MTN, we were able to manage to put together a minimum guarantee. So there's a fixed fee plus a revenue share coming on top of this. I'll discuss that a little bit further. Our solution, it's a turnkey solution. So we do provide the whole enchilada. So from site planning, site location, to building the infrastructure, putting the power, the transmission, we do everything. I'll show you a bit of a picture of everything we do. We are hiring local contractors. We have our own team on the ground developing and deploying those sites. So this is the way we do support our client base with this NAAS model. Everything has been made possible by the technology that we have developed, and it's NuRan technology. So the first product out was called the GSM light cell. It's 2G. Yes, of course, people will say, yeah, 2G, but 2G is what they need. And 2G is also what they can afford, because you have to know that in those regions where we do install the network, there's no grid, there's no backhaul, so there's no connectivity. So it's greenfield. We need to bring solution there with solar power, solar panel, batteries, and of course satellite dish that brings back the signal to the urban areas. And they need to have telephones that are cheap or low cost, that can last forever battery wise, because they don't have this luxury of plugging their telephone in the wall of their room. So they need to find source of recharging source. We are coming as recharging source as well. So we have developed the lowest power consumption equipment on the planet. With less than a light bulb power consumption, you power up to 20,000 people, and you cover up to 13-kilometer range. So this is pretty good for like the average site 5,000, but we've also co-developed with Facebook, but we retain the IP. It's called OC2G. OC stands for Open Cellular, which was a working group at Facebook. And of course 2G again, but this was for smaller settlement. As you see, population is way lower, but the coverage radius is also reduced, and by ricochet we reduce the power consumption. So this baby plus the satellite antennas and modem allow you to power up a site with about the size of a light bulb, because the satellite consume around 50 watt. So 50 plus the 14, 64 watt for a complete telecom site, bringing connectivity for the first time to this community. So this is what this thing was all about. And this was also benchmarked by MTN in their RFP that they did. They did one in 2019, and they're currently running one for multiple thousands of sites in multiple countries in Africa. And we have also launched the LightCell XG recently. This product is capable of doing 2G, 3G, and or 4G at the same time. And you can also flip from 1G to another using remote connectivity. The cool thing about this one is that it allows the increase in terms of capacity, also allow the increase in terms of broadband coverage. So that brings internet. And of course, it consumes a little bit more power, but look at the population type coverage that we can bring there. So that was the recent evolution that also allow us to open the Latin American market as well as APAC market. As APAC stands for Asia Pacific. So all of those technology has been developed in-house. We control the IP. It's our own property, and we're really extremely proud of it. One example of the type of contract we've put together is we have signed, and that was really the game-changing contract that we've signed. Actually, we're just about to celebrate the first anniversary of that contract that was signed February 8th last year. We have been able to sign a contract for 2,000 sites that might be deployed within 40 months. It's a 10-year contract term. And by the way, we have an option to extend. We also have an option to extend the amount of site that we will be building in the duration of the contract. The contract is for 2G to start with, but with upgradability path to 4G. We will be connecting up to 10 million people in the country, assuming we're doing 5,000. But actually, the survey that we're doing show a higher population than what we thought of. So it looks extremely promising. The gross revenue projected for that contract over 10 years period is 394 million USD. Actually, my presentation was done in Canadian dollar. I swapped it all for USD, so you will not have to make the math yourself. So really game-changing contract. We've put NuRan on the map. Since then, we've been receiving calls from a lot of operators, a lot of developmental organization are also looking at NuRan for financing those infrastructure. And this is exactly the type of contract and the type of business that we want to put together coming shortly with others. A bit of description of what we've accomplished there. Of course, we will be building and operating those 2,000 sites in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. I did it in a build, own, operate, transfer type contract because the asset after 5 years are being transferred to the operator, but we remain the main contractor as a managed service for the remaining period of the 10-year term. So, and we maintain the same level of revenue. One particularity of our contract is that we've been able to implement a minimum guaranteed amount. On average, it's $1,000 USD per site per month. And this is what's make our business model unique compared to others that do the same in Africa. And this one happens to show that we are now bankable. So we were able to achieve commitment from DFIs and IFIs to be able to finance this infrastructure via debt and not via equity, which the shareholders will like because it drops dramatically the potential dilution. We're delivering those 2,000 sites with using 4 different categories, and the status we're now building. One of the other feature of the type of business we're driving is look at the EBITDA that we will be generating from those contracts. So the model, it's a lean and mean contract. We are not a mobile network operator, so we don't have this massive overhead. So we are able to manage to get 50% EBITDA from all operations that we will be doing. So that drives value, and I'll show that in the next couple of lines. What we've been able to accomplish since September 3rd, which has been where we did the shift to become a NAAS-oriented company. We've been able to manage to sign 3 major contracts, 2 with Orange, 1 with MTN, for a total of 2,492 sites to be deployed in Africa. And all of those contracts also have an option to grow the number of sites. So it gives us the opportunity to potentially grow the numbers that you see there. We've been able to sign a strategic investment from AMO Spacecom, an important player in the satellite industry that supports our backhaul connectivity. We have now a growing pipeline, a still growing pipeline of over 15,000 sites coming from different angles. I'll talk about this in a few seconds. And in 16 months, we have been able to raise or get commitment for over $34 million USD to finance the infrastructure that we will put in place, most of it via debt, which is quite an achievement compared to comparables on the market. So far, so good. 58 site live. We are generating a penetration rate of 45.9%. We have 100K active subscribers on the network. It's a user. And we are now generating on average $1,800 USD in revenue per site. And by the way, this is coming from the average revenue that we were generating from the Cameroon sites as of December 31st, 2021. One point here, the 45.9% penetration rate. We have never thought that we would be achieving this. Our financial model takes into account a 24-25% penetration rate. We are at 45%. So the potential is huge. There will be countries that will go lower, some others that will go higher. But this also show, if you look at the North American penetration rate, for example, you have 96, 97% of the population that has a mobile device. They're aiming for the same thing, and those numbers will be growing. So we're having we have done significant amount of progression in the last 16 months, and it will continue. So that was since September 2020 and up to now what we have done in terms of progression. So 16 months to do all of this. Seriously, without the team, the experienced team that we've put together, a lot of telecom experts, really committed people to change the world, we couldn't do it. So I'm extremely happy of the team there. What we have in terms of target, so NuRan wants to achieve in 5 years, 10,000 sites generating 200 million USD in revenue per year and 100 million USD in EBITDA. And in order to get there, we are currently under proposal in RFPs with Orange for 4 different countries for over 2,000 sites. We've been shortlisted on a major RFP with Tier 1, with the Tier 1 MNO for over 10,000 sites in 17 different countries. We're in discussion with other mobile network operators for more than 3,000 sites. We have started our expansion for LATAM and APAC. And guess what? We currently have this in our pocket. It's 2,500 sites to build upon to. So we are in the 5-year plan. 1 year done, we have 25% of the objective reach in terms of site under contract. And with this pipeline here, I suspect that we might hit the 10,000 site under contract probably within the next 2 years max. So we are at the right spot. The mobile network operator have a massive demand for rural connectivity. They're bringing more subscribers. They are enforcing their mobile money service. There's no ATM in those places. Actually, all the pictures shown in all slides are sites that we've deployed actually. And the slide that I'm eager to present you is the following one. So I happened to receive a report recently from HSBC, which talks about the valuation of the tower companies. So why we are comparing NuRan to tower companies, we're doing something similar with the difference that we're building smaller tower and we are going the extra mile, which is to manage the active equipment, so the radio, the network. So this is what differentiate both companies or both markets. And when you look at the market insight from the report, I've selected 4 players that are currently pretty active in Africa. American Tower being one of them, Crown Castle, HS Tower that recently went public on NASDAQ, and Helios Tower. And these guys are trading, you see the big guns are trading 26x EBITDA, and the smaller players are trading 8.6x EBITDA. Actually, the mobile network operator, FYI, it's not part of this, are trading 7.5 times EBITDA for your information. So, but I just wanted to make some comparison with NuRan and its potential valuation. So what we have today, taking into account the 8.6x multiple with 2,500 site, reaching 800 USD per site per month in revenue, will generate a yearly revenue of 55 million, EBITDA of 27.5, so a potential valuation of 36.5 million USD. And once we are able to see that the 10K sites pointing out, this is the type of valuation that you will see. Compare to our brothers in the same type of market, but with the difference, as I said, we're building smaller settlement, and we are running the active equipment in a managed service mode. So it's massive. Our stock is currently trading at $1.40 something, pretty decent volume. We're traded on the CSE, but we are definitely aiming in the right direction. This is the number that you should see upcoming in NuRan's life. It's not a dream. It's real. We've been starting to deploy, and we're seeing massive revenue. Follow also our social media. We're presenting pictures and evolution of the company. We're also talking a lot about the new sites live. We have a counter on the website. So we're just accumulating site. We've ticked all boxes, contracts. Now financing is here, and we just need to complete the build and fulfill our obligation to deliver those 2,400 sites, while me and the sales team are also working on bringing more contracts, and that's about it. So this is what NuRan is all about. Just wanted to show you some pictures of what we see. So those are towers that we've erected in Africa so far. Some selection, some are larger, some are smaller, but this is the type of infrastructure. So you see that we are a carrier grade company, type of equipment that we have on top here. So this is what NuRan is all about. Thank you very much.
Francis, can you hear me?
I do.
Okay, fantastic. Great presentation. So let's see if we can get into some audience questions here. Okay, first let me just excuse me. Let me ask you a question first. So bottom line here is you have a path. It looks to me like you have a path to potentially, $2 billion valuation. Once you get let's say you get to 10,000 plus towers, you go to, I think, what that would be, 200 million plus, actually no, 100 million plus EBITDA, right?
Exact.
100 million plus EBITDA. Some of the peers are trading at, you showed those like a spread. Some of them are like 8x EBITDA, some are 25x EBITDA.
Exact. I've used a smaller number, Jack, just to not create too big of an expectation.
Yeah, but realistically, I mean, this could be, a $2 billion valuation. So if you have, let's say you get to 100 million shares outstanding, which is far higher than you have now, that would be roughly $20 per share. I mean, that's simply the math. Now, I guess the big question is, okay, now how, essentially you have the contracts in place, right? It's not like you need to go out and find these deals to put up the towers, right? In other words, you have contracts, all you got to do is put them up. Is that?
We have 2,500 sites under contract as we speak, and we are in proposal stage for over 15,000 sites additional. Our objective has been to build those 10,000 sites, but at least if we just stop here, we have 2,500 sites, and those 2,500 sites will be generating $50 million of revenue, $27 million of EBITDA, as shown in the thing. And the valuation, if you use comparative players in the market or our peers, so we should be trading at $236 million US.
Okay.
So yeah, you see the path forward. So should we crank it up and multiply it by 5? You just use the multipliers. And by the way, the corp is not growing at the same pace as every single subsidiaries, right? So our overhead is reduced by the number of towers we do. So maybe the EBITDA will grow as well, but it's a cash generating type business that we have in front of us.
Okay, so we got a bunch of questions coming in, so we're gonna get to those. But the bottom line is right now, just so in other words, just the contract you have right now is, if you stop right now, if you don't do anything else, is going to generate 50 million in EBITDA.
No, I have it here. I'll tell you right away.
Did I screw up my math?
27.5 million EBITDA.
27 point. Okay, so I like to double things just in case.
That's what I see.
So 50 million gross, 27. It's roughly 27 million EBITDA. Okay.
Yeah.
But that would be still around 400 million, 500 million market cap. So which is how many shares out now do you have fully diluted?
Fully diluted, 41 million.
Okay, so that's $10 a share roughly, based on just what you have right now. So
exactly.
the question is though, what's standing in the way of you getting those 2,500 towers up? Is it the question of financing? What needs to be done?
All of the above. So it's just time, because we will get there. There's 30,000 tower to be built in sub-Saharan Africa only. And there's a handful of players that does the same thing. And we have been able to show that we can raise capital through debt. We've been able to show that we can sign contracts. So it's just execution, Jack. So it's not complicated. It's time. Getting more contracts, more financing. We've got a lot of big guns involved in our discussion for financing in terms of developmentals. And this is these guys' mandate to invest in infra in Africa. So we are bang on to what these guys are looking for. We're getting calls on not only for MNOs that want to see more sites built in their country. We're receiving calls from development banks that say, "How can we help?" So we've completely turned the corner. So we're no longer proving that we are a wannabe. We're just acting now. We're just executing now. And we've been able to report revenues, report on site live. So we're just ticking all boxes as we speak.
Okay, so essentially the financing for these towers it's coming from more like these development banks, which are, I mean, they're quasi-government agencies. So in other words, it's usually low interest type loans. I mean, these are very very favorable terms. I don't want to say it's free money, but it's
it's not free money.
It's not free money. It's not free, but it's basically it's not dilutive. It's non-dilutive financing, because I think that's the number one question people are going to have.
Yes.
Is there going to be dilution?
No, it prevents dilution big time. That's the quote, and that has always been my goal. It was not ideal to get the first financing coming from a commercial bank where we have to give them a letter of guarantee. But I was so engaged in getting a bankability to my program that I wanted this so badly. But just afterwards, once we announced it, then everything started to fall over, and the developmental were coming. So DFIs, IFIs, the big guys. I can do name dropping. I can't disclose with whom we are working now, but the people that are involved in infrastructure investment in emerging markets like World Bank, African Development Bank, Asian Development Bank. You have something similar for Latin America. You have the Universal Service Funds. So there's so many groups that are working on igniting the not connected population. They want to get the job done as much as we do. So it's extremely important for us, and I'm extremely happy of what's going on now.
Yeah, definitely. Guys. I mean, definitely, this is like a priority. Communications really is like one of the most essential things for any type of economy. I mean, in other words, the communications, being able to call, that creates jobs. It impacts health. It impacts everything. I mean, and that's really it will make a massive impact. In these markets that you're in. So I could see why. The development banks, you have, government agencies, whatever it is, would want to, finance this. And at some point, of course, you have that, at some point, let's say the stock trades on NASDAQ, this becomes attractive for a lot of these like ESG type funds where, here they're actually of course, here this or impact invest, whatever whatever you want to call those things. But here, actually, this is it's not like one of these things which is you could say electric vehicles. This is actually something where you really are changing people's lives, because now when they have a phone, they're able to make a call, they're able to connect with jobs, opportunity, healthcare, everything. I mean,
mobile money, Jack.
Everything. Yeah, it's the whole economy. Basically,
it creates an economy. Exactly.
And also, basically, the whole economy in Africa revolves around the mobile phones. I mean, transactions are they've essentially leapfrogged the developed world, because banking, everything is done through phones.
Absolutely.
So it's really
e-health, e-learnings.
Yeah. Huge thing. I mean, I'm surprised. Bill Gates. That Bill Melinda Gates Foundation is not. Maybe they are. Maybe they're buying.
I'm expecting his call this afternoon, Jack. No, I'm kidding.
He should, because this is actually
absolutely
right up his
should.
alley. This is right up his alley. I mean, wasn't he financing to get rid of malaria or something in Africa? Like he's got a big interest in Africa, right? So this is like perfect.
He does. And the one thing that we never report on, the population, the ages of the population in Africa is quite low.
Yeah.
There's a massive population between 15 and 40. You would be amazed. I know that there was some surveys of some report that has been released from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, actually, on that note, because they're talking a lot about the education and so forth, which is extremely important. So it's really fantastic what's happening. There's a lot of support. Maybe we will have a couple of basketball player on our side, because you have a lot of those guys that come a lot. Couple of those guys from Cameroon, for example. You have I think the UFC heavyweight champion comes from Cameroon. So I'll try to get those guys on our side to get Africa connected.
No, it's really a tremendous opportunity, and the interesting thing here is, again, you have this like 20x upside for the stock. So it's a question of again, how fast can you get this done? When we see these this 50 million plus top line, 27 million EBITDA, all that good stuff.
So talking about getting those sites under contract, as I said, my expectation is that we should be there with the 10,000 sites under contract probably within the next 24 months. So on the 5-year plan, that's like 2 years ahead of time. But in terms of getting the build done, it will all be dependent, of course, on when the money comes in and when we can deploy. But there's no real restriction in terms of capacity of deploying fast. It's the money that will dictate the pace to where we are going to execute there. So finance is the way to go. We've proven that we can do it. So, and we're already working on the next round, the big chunk, talking about 120 million to raise to do the 10,000 sites build.
And this would be from like
most of it will be done in debt. Pardon me?
Okay. This would be from like a development bank.
Mostly development banks, because it's mostly the syndicated deal. If you just look at the one we just announced, there was to a 14 and 9 announced USD financing, and this is they're coming alongside together as a team, and we need to match it with 6 million of equity. So they're asking for like 20, 25, 30% equity in some cases, but we raise that equity, Jack, at the NuRan African Holding, which is a private entity, and this one is valued differently than the stock price on the Canadian stock market.
Okay, let's get to some audience questions here. Brad is asking, what's the migration from 2G to 5G look like in the future? Is it a hardware?
Yes. So, but the cool thing is that our box is like this big, Jack. The antennas remain the same. So changing the box, swapping the box to put a new one, quite easy. The next generation one is called the XG. I showed it in my presentation. This one, you can turn it on remotely. Once you install, you can start with 2G, then swap to 3G and to 4G. don't see 5G soon though in those regions, because you have to know that the backhaul connectivity is done via satellite. Okay, satellite bandwidth, everybody knows that it's expensive, so it has to be somewhat limited. So for a site to be profitable running on 3G and 4G, you need a massive amount of user and an extremely high ARPU. ARPU stands for average revenue per user. So it's tough to get there, but we will get there as we go. We're creating local economies. People will be working, selling their harvesting. We will then create a new economy at the community level that will crank up their ability to pay for their phone bills. And then we will be able to bring additional Gs as we go. In some cases, we will need to swap the box. In some other cases, we will need to turn it on and off.
Okay. Next question. Any timeline on the 4 Orange RFPs and the big MTN RFP?
Yeah, it was in my thing. Any timeline? I will say 2022. No, I don't have any timeline because we were expecting last year, we were told, especially Orange, that it should be completed in June and then September, and then we're now January. The discussion are still there. We're still shortlisted. You have to know that the Orange just changed their group CEO. The group CEO is now a woman. It has been announced this week. And of course, Orange is a highly political organization. So sometimes when the head is not there, people just intend to keep it quiet. But the good thing is that, look, next week I'm in Europe to meet with the development banks to continue on our process. And I will make a stop at Orange headquarters to discuss about the progress of our rollouts in Cameroon and DRC, and I want to inquire about the status of those RFP. So as soon as I have news for this, I'll let you know. On the MTN side, they're usually pretty quick and pretty bang on. The last one, they took 7 months to announce. So MTN started their RFP in end of August, so beginning of September. So 7 months brings us to March. So fingers crossed it's going to happen.
Okay, next question. Haley's asking, moving forward, how many towers are expected to be erected by the end of this year, and how many erect towers a month maximum are you expecting to bring online?
It's a good question, Haley. How many towers? I think that it's close to 600 that we're expecting to be built this year. And we will be turning EBITDA positive end of Q3, beginning of Q4. And to be EBITDA positive, we need to be at 450 sites erected. So this is part of the financial plan. It's COVID, it's global sourcing problem. So we don't control all the environment. We've been able to manage to get through quite good, even if we are not on target with our expectation, but it's going. And to follow on this question, our capacity, it's not the problem. It's getting the equipment on the ground and building. Once we are in full steam mode in DRC, we will be deploying 80 sites a month, to give you an example. And it's not the same team that are deploying for all countries. So we're hiring local contractors that take on transportation and building. We are managing the communication equipment installation. So, of course, you will see that we have multiple teams on the ground. We have 3 subcontractors in DRC, 1 in Cameroon, and we have selected 1 that will be part of our incorporation in South Sudan. So it all depends on what kind of pace we need and something like this, but there's no limit to the number of sites we can build on a monthly basis.
Okay. Calvin's asking, after the life of the 10-year contract, does NuRan retain any source of revenues from the tower once they're fully transferred to the operator?
It's another really good question. I like this. There's an option to renew the managed service, so we can maintain the managed service when the contract is done. Actually, for the next rounds of contract, we will be pushing to get longer term contract, actually. So that's one thing that we would like to achieve. That brings higher valuation when you do all the actualization and everything. But most likely is even if we're transferring the asset, the operator intends to outsource most of the managed services to contractors, and we intend to position ourselves to pursue those 10-year contracts moving forward.
Okay. Yes, I think that's it's an important point. Is that most of these telecom companies, they again in most business, people like to outsource. They like to outsource the different services, everything else. And if they could outsource, the maintenance of the towers, everything else, I mean, that's the ideal situation for these guys. Francis, I think we lost you here. Okay, hang on a sec, Francis. Right, I think we lost the connection here. All right, let me just wait. Hopefully, it'll pop back in. Francis. Okay. Stand by. Francis will be back in just a second. Let me see if I know that he's in Quebec, and there was a small internet problem there getting signed in. So ironically, we're in telecom business. 1 second. Okay, just send a message. Okay, stand by, everybody. I can't answer these questions. I see we have about 15 really good questions. I'm just waiting for Francis to log back in. Okay, hang on 1 second. I have to call him. Okay, Francis is coming back in just a second. Apparently, the electricity went out at his location. He's not in Africa. He's in Quebec, Canada. So there you go. Stand by. Should be coming in any second. This is not a NuRan connection. It is a whatever the electricity is in. I guess it's near Montreal. Okay, there we go. Okay, Francis.
We're running on solar panel or something like this because electricity went out. Sorry for that.
Okay, so this is not the electricity in your home went out.
Yes, exact.
And you're in Montreal area, right?
I'm just outside Quebec City, like 20 minutes outside Quebec City. I'm now reconnecting via my LTE network.
Okay, so you're coming. Oh, so this is right now. You're on the phone.
Yes.
Using the phone. Okay. All right. So, all right. Let's get back to the audience questions. So you can see how important good connectivity is. I mean, this is
this is the joy of live.
Okay. So we saw Haley's question. Okay. So 10-year contract. Okay. Samantha's asking, can you please touch on the total cost for each site and what happens after the site is transferred back? So we get a bunch of questions about this. Like once you put up the tower of the site, do you transfer all the costs associated with building? Or no, they just get it free and clear? How does it work?
Okay, the total cost of a site is. Can you pull back the question on the screen, please? The total cost of a site is on average $25,000 USD. When the site is transferred, we transfer the asset. So the lease contract with the landlord, we transfer all the equipment. We maintain all the OPEX of the site. So operational and maintenance, the satellite bandwidth, but the equipment goes to the operator.
Okay.
But the debt is paid at this time. When you look at this, our debt package is usually for 5 to 6 years max. And the assets are transferred once the debt is repaid, never before.
Okay.
This is how we build a contract.
Okay. Samantha, the next question is, why does the company transfer the sites rather than retain them to build out the total infrastructure?
Bankability.
Okay.
If you want to run through dilution, we can equity finance everything, and we will retain the rights of getting the asset. If we want to get a minimum guaranteed amount, monthly, to preserve our operation and everything, and get the bankable model, we need to have this. We need to have to sustain the minimum guaranteed amount. But moving forward, that was because we were starting. Right now, we are deploying. So we see the revenue, we see what's going on, so we can report on actual, not prospective. So now when we talk to the developmentals, we can then talk about, here is what the revenue are generated. Our model was showing 25% penetration rate. We're at 45. So bang, 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 bang. So once we have a proven model, and which is happening today, we will probably be able to switch and no longer give the assets. Actually, if you ask me, my option will be to keep the asset forever, because after the 10-year contract, if they don't want to renew, you can flip on the other side of the street and continue your operation based on those assets. The next contracts will be along those lines because we're accumulating data from the current site's life.
Okay. John is asking, can you explain what you're doing to ramp up your site installation rate over your current?
Okay, it's just because we were at the beginning in September, August, September in 2021. We were expecting something like 180 sites live by December 31st. But due to the logistic problems, there was like a lot of equipment stalled at the seaport to cross custom and everything. So, and it's still the case. We're still suffering a little bit from this. So once we have everything cleared from custom in our warehousing, there's nothing stopping us from doing 50 sites a month, 70 sites a month. It's not a problem. So it's just a matter of cleaning and getting all the equipment. FYI, we have $3 million worth of inventory sitting in Cameroon waiting for a few bits and pieces to arrive in country to continue to build for the first 120 site. Same goes for DRC. And if you look at our financials that we've, the Q4 financials we've announced in December, you see the inventory sitting in each country waiting to be deployed. So we're just waiting for this. So once we have resolved all of those issues, we will be running on a faster pace. It should be a problem. But it does not impact our contract. It's important. On the contract, we have a tentative schedule. And you have to also know that we are investing. We are in the driver's seat. So we don't have any penalty if we're not installing fast enough. And there's no way out for the operator, contractually speaking. It's an investment coming from NuRan. It's more of a partnership agreement than a real supplier type contract, actually. So it brings a lot of security or de-risk the model.
Okay. Heinz is asking, how many towers can you build per month? Are there any constraints on your ability to scale?
So in terms of scale, we could probably build to 200 towers per month in DRC, but it all goes back to the financing. So we just need to have sufficient number of teams in order to be able to build those things. Right now, once we have everything cleared, everything cleared to build, actually, that's the term we're using, we should be running on a pace of 70 to 80 sites a month in DRC. In Cameroon, we don't need to go that fast, but we can probably do 30 to 40 sites a month easily. Actually, we've shown that because between the December 20 and I think January 20, we've deployed close to 30 sites in Cameroon. So we've shown that already. It's not a problem. It's a matter of sourcing and clearing up everything and having a clear to build bill of quantity to move to the site and to build it.
Okay. I think we've got about 8 more questions to go, friends. I hope you have a couple minutes here because we got some.
I'm all yours.
Very good questions there. Okay, so okay, let's see here. Oh, okay, here we go. Let me catch up. Okay, is there a plan to add more tenants on existing towers? In other words, can you have multiple companies on one tower, or have you been approached by other T1? What would this mean for revenue projections?
You know, Jack, I'm surprised that I have never been asked this question before. This guy is smart. Okay, so the easiest way to get to a contract is to deal with a single operator. But we could, because this would require that we go to the regulator, which is a government body, negotiate the license, bring the license, put together the infrastructure, and negotiate multi-tenant type business with the different operators. This will be longer term process, but I think we will get there sooner than later. The banks would love this, to have it more independent to the mobile network operator, because if there's one thing that the banks do not like much, is to favor one over the other. They would like to, especially the developmentals, they would love to finance infrastructure that can serve as many people as possible, or as many buddies as possible. So it's a good question. There was something else in the question, by the way. Can you put that back in on the screen? Have you? No. Okay, so no impact on the revenue projection, because having one or multiple operator onto one site, there's a captive population of 5,000 people. Global penetration rate in the village being 25, 30, 40%. It will be 25, 30, 40%. The only thing is that when you go there with a single operator, the tariffs are higher compared to when you have competition. We've gone through this in North America already a couple of years back.
Okay, so we asked this.
That was done.
We asked that. Okay, so
we have a lot of German people on the.
I think there's a big German following in the stock.
Yes, right? Yes, there is.
Yeah. So Calvin's asking, you've discussed when you expect to have 10,000 sites, but when do you expect to have 2,500 sites currently? So when these 2,500 sites?
What, again, 40 months. If you look at if you go back to the presentation I did in the contract, the tentative schedule for DRC is 40 months. But by the end of 2022, we should be finished with the 200 sites of Cameroon.
Okay. Can you comment on your 5G patents? Does NuRan have those MIMO patents?
This gentleman has done a massive due diligence on the company. Okay, so yes, we still have the MIMO patents. Really funny. It's like a former employee or something like this. It goes straight into, the 5G patent was for massive MIMO. You know, when you deploy into those dense area and you have 5G is about multiples, as you know. It's not an enhanced LTE. It's like we're driving multiples here. They call it the 1000x capacity in terms of number of user, number of this, and that. I'm not the deep dive technical type person, but yes, we still have this 5G patent. Will it serve? Will it be used? Will it be pushed to, at this stage, we have a lot to work on, but we keep it alive, of course.
How many sites do your competitors have? The
2,100.
Okay. 2,100. So so that slide where we saw their revenues, the multiples, that they have 2,100 sites.
Exact.
Okay, so it's not, I mean, not too far off from where you are. I mean, it's not like an order of magnitude. It's like,
No, it's starting. It's starting.
Okay, so it's not a big, I mean, you can catch up very quickly. Okay, what's happening in Latin America?
Latin America, of course, we've hired a business development manager. He's now connected with a lot of Canadian trade commissioners to open up business there. We are currently entertaining probably 3 to 4 different opportunities. One in Argentina, Brazil, close to Amazon. We have Mexico, and there's, I think, Uruguay or something like this. So it's there, but we need to do a bit of not preaching, but learning, teaching how the business model works. Africa, it has been on everybody's lips for quite a while. Whereas in Latin America, you need to teach how it works, and we're just in that mood as we speak. But it has started already. Maybe we can probably see the first contract before the end of 2022. I would not be surprised about that. Fernando is doing hell of a job connecting to people there.
Okay, so any other continents? So you mentioned Latin America, I guess.
Asia Pacific, we're already there, but not as a NAAS, Jack. We have a contract with Intelsat to serve 62 islands in Marshall Island. COVID has stopped almost everything, but there's a show upcoming called PITA. It's all the islands coming along together, and Ayoub will be going there. And I know there's a massive demand. Cook Islands, Kiribati. By the way, there's a worse place to travel when you go to these islands. It's like a Hawaii or Bora Bora type places, and you bring towers. Seriously, I would go in Bermudas and sandals easily just to, I would probably install and dig holes myself in this area. But we've done things in Asia Pacific already, but more on a CapEx mode. So one-off, we're selling the solution.
Okay. How are things progressing in South Sudan? When do you estimate mobilization will begin?
South Sudan, we're shipping servers, everything that will be connected to their core network this week. So arriving in country there, we plan to have 10 sites probably live before the raining season. South Sudan, actually, we were thinking of signing the contract way before to benefit from the fact that we were pre-raining season, because it's pretty heavy in South Sudan. Starting May, the next 5 months, you can't do anything. It rains and floods and everything, so you can't access places. So it's hard to build a concrete-based tower into places where you are in the mud. So it just doesn't work. So we will probably have maybe 10, 15 site live before this period, wait a bit and start over again in November, December. And the goal is to have the 250 site running within 24 months. In order to pave the way for an additional 250 site more.
Okay, I think this is it. I think that's all we have for questions for today. All right, so Francis, let's kind of wrap up here. The favorite question, we always like to ask CEOs on the program is, in your opinion, like based on where the company is right now, what would you say are the top 3 reasons why investors should consider NuRan today?
I like this question, but I don't know I have an answer for this. 2021 has been the year for ticking all boxes, accumulating contracts and everything. 2022, we're starting executing. We're in the revenue stage. This is where you will see the multiple showing up on the stock price. So this is the perfect timing. We have a fairly small amount of issued and outstanding. So it's a really, really good timing. Second thing, the market is booming. The market is here. It's ready to ramp up. Everybody wants to have connectivity, and sooner than later, Latin America will wake up and will say, okay, this is what we want too. So I would say those are the two major reasons. The third one, we have put together the right team to deliver on promise. Sales wise, operation wise, finance wise, we have demonstrated that we can raise capital at the debt level that will reduce dilution as much as possible. So we are a company that has just crossed the bridge. We're just ready to fruition, I would say.
I would add like something else which I think is important for investors. In the micro cap space, when we're talking about these low price, micro cap stocks, it's very unusual to have a situation where you have these, you have blue chip partners, you have contracts with blue chip partners, right? You have, the financing is coming from development banks. So these are major banks. So these are people who've done their due diligence, right? So this is like, and you have other partners. So there's a lot of validation here to the story. So this is not just some crazy penny stock story where
No,
we did. This is
it's
actually everything
Orange,
is
it's
there.
MTN, it's Vodafone, it's
Yeah.
like the World Bank. It's all the big guns are just behind NuRan to get going. So it's a real market.
So, and that should add, I think, to the part of the valuation story here. So very exciting. Now, Francis, what kind of news flow can we expect to see in the next 60 days or so? What kind of developments should we look
There
out
will
for?
be a lot of news in 2022 because, as I said, we're in the execution mode. So you will see some news from more site live, some reporting from the revenue generated, the penetration rate. So this is going to be regular press release that we're going to do. I was waiting for this video to happen, and then we will start providing information to the market via press releases on the evolution of the execution. Financing news, there will be some more. Contractual news, we're working throughout the pipeline, so you will see more of those MOUs leading to contracts coming in, and probably announcement of RFP selection and thing like this. And well, guess what? Some more high-level stuff that we might do moving forward. So we can expect a lot of movement from NuRan stock in the next couple of weeks and months, for sure.
Okay, excellent. Francis, on that note, I want to thank you, and we look forward to getting more updates in the coming weeks.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, and thank you everybody for joining our live stream. We'll see you in the next one.